SWOT Your Life. From Corporate Strategy to Personal Mastery by Walter Freeman. Chapter 3. Mapping Your Current Reality. The snapshot that changes everything. Before you can get anywhere, you have to know where you are. This sounds obvious until you realize how rarely we do it. Most people have a vague sense of their life situation. Some things are going well, some things aren't. The future is uncertain. But vague senses don't drive action. Clarity does. Let me tell you about Sarah. When I met her in 2019, she was a 35-year-old marketing manager in Chicago, and she had just been passed over for a promotion she'd expected for 2 years. Her boss told her she wasn't ready for leadership, which felt like a slap after 7 years of 70-hour weeks. Sarah's first instinct was to quit. Her second instinct was to work even harder. Her third instinct was to drink wine and complain to her husband. None of these instincts were good strategies. Instead, I asked her to do something she'd never done: map her current reality. Not her feelings about her situation, her actual situation. We started with the basics. Age, 35. Career stage, mid-level management, 7 years at the same company. Education, MBA from Northwestern, which she was still paying for. Health, decent, though she'd gained 20 pounds since starting the job and hadn't seen a doctor in 3 years. Relationships, married 4 years, no kids, seeing her friends about once a month when she used to see them weekly. Savings, enough for 3 months of expenses if she lost her job. Already the picture was clearer than Sarah had allowed herself to see. She wasn't just stressed at work. She was a person whose entire life had been consumed by a job that had just signaled it didn't value her the way she valued it. Then we did the SWOT. Strengths: a prestigious MBA and strong analytical skills. Deep industry knowledge. A network of former colleagues who respected her work. A husband who was financially stable and emotionally supportive. A natural curiosity that made her genuinely good at her job. Weaknesses: she'd specialized too narrowly and her skills were becoming outdated. She avoided confrontation, which meant problems festered until they exploded. She'd let all her relationships outside work atrophy. She had no creative outlets, no exercise routine, nothing that recharged her batteries. And she had no idea what she actually wanted. She'd been so focused on the next promotion that she'd never asked whether she wanted what it would give her. Opportunities. The gig economy was creating demand for fractional executives, experienced people who could help multiple companies without full-time commitment. Remote work was becoming normalized, which would let her escape the office culture that was draining her. Executive coaching was a growing field that matched her skills. Her husband's income meant she could take risks that people with dependents couldn't. Threats. AI was starting to automate the analytical work she'd built her career on. She was approaching the age where career pivots become harder. Her company knew how much she'd sacrificed for them, which meant they expected her to keep sacrificing. And her burnout was affecting her marriage in ways she hadn't fully acknowledged. Looking at those 4 quadrants, Sarah saw something she'd been avoiding. She was building a career she didn't want while neglecting a life she was losing. 6 months later, she'd left her job. Not impulsively, strategically. She'd used her network to line up 3 freelance consulting clients before giving notice. She'd started seeing her friends again, going to the gym, having actual conversations with her husband about something other than work. By the time I caught up with her a year later, she was making more money than before while working half the hours. But the money wasn't the point. The point was that Sarah had seen her situation clearly for the first time, and that clarity made the right path obvious. The danger of the comfortable fog. Why don't more people map their reality this way? Because clarity can be painful. There's a comfort in vagueness. As long as you don't know exactly how much credit card debt you have, you don't have to confront it. As long as you don't articulate what's missing in your relationship, you don't have to do the scary work of addressing it. As long as you don't examine whether your career is actually going somewhere, you can keep telling yourself it is. Psychologists call this motivated ignorance, the deliberate avoidance of information that might require us to change. We do it all the time. We don't step on the scale because we don't want to know. We don't check our retirement accounts during market downturns. We don't ask our partners what they really think about our marriage. The problem is that reality doesn't care whether you acknowledge it. The debt is still there. The relationship is still struggling. The career is still stalled. By not looking, you don't make these problems disappear. You just make them impossible to solve. SWOT is an antidote to motivated ignorance. It creates a structure that makes clarity safer. You're not just dwelling on what's wrong, you're also naming what's right. You're not just identifying threats, you're also finding opportunities. The balance makes honesty bearable. Your personal life snapshot. I want you to create a snapshot of your current life situation before we go any further. This isn't a 5-minute exercise, give it at least an hour. The quality of everything that follows depends on the honesty of what you write here. Start with the basic facts. Write down your age, your relationship status, your work situation, your living situation, your financial situation, in general terms. You'll go deeper in the finance chapter, and your health situation. No interpretation, no judgment, just the facts as they currently exist. Then create your 4 quadrants. For strengths, consider: what skills have you developed that serve you well? What relationships support you? What habits help you succeed? What resources do you have access to? What about your personality makes life easier? What have you accomplished that proves you're capable? For weaknesses, consider: what skills are you lacking that hold you back? What habits hurt you? What do you consistently avoid that you should face? What feedback have you received repeatedly that you haven't acted on? What patterns show up in your disappointments and failures? What about your personality makes life harder? For opportunities, consider: what's changing in the world that could benefit you? What resources are available that you're not using? Who could you connect with or reconnect with? What could you learn that would open doors? What could you do differently that might work better? What advantages do you have that you're not leveraging? For threats, consider: what's changing in the world that could hurt you? What problems have you been avoiding that might catch up with you? What about your current situation is unsustainable? What could go wrong that you're pretending won't? What are the warning signs you've been ignoring? Write at least 4 items in each quadrant. Then step back and look at the whole picture. What patterns do you see? What connections between quadrants jump out? What's the story your SWOT is telling about where you are and where you might go? This snapshot is your baseline. In the chapters that follow, we'll zoom in on specific arenas: health, family, finances, and more. But everything builds on this foundation. You can't improve a life you can't see. When the snapshot reveals surprise. Sometimes the most valuable thing about mapping your reality is discovering you were wrong about it. Tom was a 42-year-old surf instructor in Sydney who came to me convinced his life was falling apart. His tourism business had collapsed during the pandemic shutdowns. He was burning through savings. His marriage was strained from financial stress. He felt like a failure. But when we mapped his actual situation, a different picture emerged. Strengths: 20 years of expertise in coastal culture. Deep relationships with a local community that loved him. Physical health that most 42-year-olds would envy. A reputation for patience and skill with beginners. A partner who, despite the stress, was still committed to figuring things out together. Weaknesses: 0 digital presence. No business skills beyond showing up and being good at what he did. A resistance to anything that felt like selling out. No backup income streams. Opportunities: ecotourism was exploding as people reconnected with nature. Government grants were available for sustainable businesses. Online instruction had become normalized, and his teaching style would translate. The post-pandemic travel surge was coming. Threats: climate change was affecting the coastline. Competition from corporate surf schools was increasing. His body wouldn't do this forever, and the immediate cash crunch was real. What Tom had been telling himself was a story of failure. What the SWOT showed was a story of transition. He wasn't a failed surf instructor. He was an expert in coastal culture who hadn't yet figured out how to translate his expertise into the emerging world. Within a year, Tom had launched a sustainable surf camp that combined instruction with environmental education. He'd secured a grant to help fund the launch. He'd started making instructional videos that brought in passive income while he slept. The business was more profitable than his pre-pandemic operation had ever been. The facts of Tom's situation hadn't changed between the beginning and end of our conversation. What changed was how he organized them. And that reorganization made the path forward visible. Your snapshot might surprise you too. You might discover strengths you've been ignoring, opportunities you've been missing, or a reality that's better than the story you've been telling yourself. Or you might discover that some aspect of your situation is worse than you've admitted, which is painful, but essential. You can't solve a problem you won't name. Map your reality. Then we'll start improving it, one arena at a time.